Here, scoot on in.
All right.
All right, there we are.
Move over. You got space on the camera.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Dan. So I mean, there's no sense in wasting any time
Well,
when.
Can you
What?
just
Fire
welcome
away.
him?
Nah,
And
I mean he's on every Sunday.
Is there
we don't
any
need to go through all
updates you
those.
want to get? Well, we
No,
didn't.
let's skip
we
the
didn't see him
updates.
last week.
The only thing
Did
people
you have a nice Easter? Did you go out on the boat with your wife?
I did not. So I've been
You
shackled.
did not have a good Easter, or you did not go out on the
No, it was
boat?
good Easter. We were busy, but I was working, and Megan was able to partake in some Easter activities. Her favorite holiday is Easter, so
really.
I felt bad that I had to be working, but she understands. And
Yeah.
I didn't get to go out on the boat, so I've been shackled in the Dan cave ever since.
So you get a call last week, and it's from your friends at FEMA, who, I mean, I love FEMA, as you all know. I've talked friendly about FEMA since, other than the debris cleanup, clearly the debris cleanup that they paid for was, it was awesome. They did a great job, and they didn't do the work. Obviously, they were contractors that did the work,
Yeah,
but they paid for it.
Yeah, the state stepped up and took everybody's contracts under their wing and really was spearheading that whole thing. So that saved all of Lee County, quite honestly.
Yeah. So from the minute we started this show, maybe not the minute. Hey, Debbie, how are you guys doing? I love the way your house is coming. I went by your house yesterday.
I went by it
Wow.
today.
Did you hear me?
They've got the rendition up of it.
I know.
And,
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, Debbie's house and her husband's house, of course.
Jamie.
It was Jamie. It was
He
just
just shrugs his shoulders.
Yeah.
when they knocked the house down, they had the pool. It was just a pool in the background on the beach. They have a pool on the beach with the fence around
and
it.
they're at the end of Andre Marr, right? On the beach.
On the
Yes.
beach. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
now you can see the progress of their
It's
house.
crazy.
It really looks great. The house is going
that
to be
thing's
super
going to be
nice.
a castle. I love
Yeah.
it.
You go down.
Are we going to have a
you guys
ribbon
go
cutting
anything?
at your house? Can we do a show at your house?
A ribbon
on the
cutting?
top
Yeah.
floor?
Yeah.
Speaking
Very
of
good.
ribbon cuttings, Tuesday is the first day that your 7-Eleven will be open on the south end. You'll be able to get gasoline finally
Yes.
on
the
Fort Myers
9th.
Beach. Isn't that Tuesday?
I don't know. It's the 9th. It was going to be the 8th. They had to move it back one day. So whatever
Is
the
it
9th
Tuesday
is,
or whatever?
I don't even know
yeah.
what the date is today.
So much for diving right in. It's
I know.
okay for you to take a right turn.
Well,
but
when you see the Hodka
Squirrel.
family,
Squirrel.
you got to
no
get an
kidding.
update on their house.
We had the ADHD talk
From-
yesterday.
From the beginning of time since you've been on this show, you've been saying out loud, for those of you that are doing work without a permit, you're going to cost this town. It's going to be trouble, and you're going to get caught. And do you think that is coming home to roost now?
Potentially. I mean, so just you had started the show by asking about the call. So FEMA had set up
back
a
it
call
up.
Sorry.
Good, Dan.
with staff for a time. I don't remember exactly what the time was. Then they changed the time. So Andy and Frankie could not be on that call. They had another meeting that they had to be in. But Kristen, our floodplain manager, was on that call. We didn't know what the call was about. Obviously, we do now. So when Andy found out, they worked to get a call with FEMA in Atlanta the very next day and say, we need some answers and some explanations. So that's kind of how the whole thing started. And then obviously they let all of us know that the call had came in and this is what it was about. So we were all scrambling with Lee County trying to figure out why were some people in, why were some people out. We still don't know the answers, but that's what kind of started the entire thing. We obviously everybody was double checking to make sure all their I's were dotted and T's were crossed, and we have a folder for all the properties that the council has not seen. We can't see the properties. Only the floodplain manager can see the properties. So we don't even know what properties
let me
they are.
just
give a little context.
Let me just kind of
So-
tell everybody about there's 105 properties, which is the low. Well,
I know, but
I don't want to confuse the
Does
two things.
everyone know the CRS rating? The rating
Yeah, I
got
think everybody
put down.
knows.
Okay.
They're all probably affected by it. But 105 properties that FEMA says.
But I think Kim's got a good point for those that maybe are listening
Thank you,
that don't understand.
Dan.
So the
Ding,
National
ding,
Flood
ding.
Insurance Program, if you live in a floodplain area and you have a mortgage on your home, you have to carry flood insurance. There is no choice.
Right.
Well, the flood insurance program is regulated by FEMA. They're the ones that are the financial backers or the underwriters, if you will, of the National Flood Insurance Program. So again, if you have a mortgage on your property, you have to have flood insurance. Well, the town at the time of the storm, we were at a rating of 5. So our residents were saving 25%. For some reason.
And had been for a long time.
Yes.
Well, we
right?
had worked a very long time, and it wasn't very long ago that we went, I think it was from a 7 or an 8 to that 5. So
Oh.
we had worked very hard to
get
make
it
sure
down.
we were in compliance to get down to that rating of a 5. And it takes years and years and years to get there.
Mhm.
So when you get there and you've worked very hard and you've done everything that you're supposed to do, to have that completely taken away from you without any explanation, it's hard to go to your constituents and say, I wish I had an answer, but we don't know. And
Mhm.
we still don't know.
And so for everybody, if you're not really following along, but I'm guessing you are, Cape Coral got it, Estero got it, unincorporated Lee County got it, and so did Bonita Springs. And nobody, if I watched all those meetings, Estero hasn't had their meeting yet, and they were all dumbfounded, and they all provided a
They didn't get
timeline.
it. They lost it.
Right. They went,
Yeah.
every single one of those municipalities didn't go from like a 5 to a 6 or a 7 or 8. They all went from 5 to a 10. So they all went from a 25% discount to a 0.
Zero,
You're
yeah.
getting, you're getting a 0%
This is an
discount.
instance where you don't want to be a 10. You
Yeah.
want to be.
It's
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
confusing.
Well,
It's
Gary,
It
opposite,
is
but
confusing.
You're
yeah.
a 10, but in this case, you don't want people to.
But we
be a
have
10.
5,000. I think it's 5,292 people that have a policy with flood insurance. This change would cost over $1.6 million to those 5,200.
Crazy.
Now, you can average it out. Some people average it out, say it's only $309. Well, that's an average, but obviously the dollar amount changes based on the
Right.
house. So
yeah.
some it's going to cost quite a bit, and some
Yeah.
maybe it will cost a little. So to average it out really isn't fair. It's not a real number.
Do you feel like the town?
Let me ask, do you have any idea how many people are in that program versus that have sought out private flood insurance?
I don't know how many have sought out private insurance, but like I said, it's 5,292, I think is the
There's a lot
number of
mhm.
people that are in the National Flood Insurance Program.
So
Yikes.
do you believe that the town did everything possible over the last year? You have a new floodplain manager. You changed.
No, actually,
town-
we have the same
Let me-
floodplain manager. Kristen's been
Oh.
here. Kristen,
Well, what was Poposky's job?
he was community development director. So he came on as a building official, and then he was promoted shortly after our other community
Oh.
development director left after the storm.
Oh, so he had nothing to do with this.
Well, he's not our floodplain manager. He was the building official community. He was the director of the department, but Kristen Schumacher is our
So
floodplain manager.
from the beginning, Kristen is the one that.
Yeah, we haven't
Oh,
changed
okay.
our floodplain manager
All right.
since.
So
since
do
the
you?
storm.
So do you believe that? Well, you changed town managers a couple times.
Right.
I mean, everybody knows that. That everything was done that could have been done.
But
Nothing
I
fell
can tell
through the
you,
cracks.
even when Steve Poposky was here, he and Kristen, they were very close and working very close with Concol, the state floodplain manager. They were very much understanding that they don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize the town and its
Yes.
national flood insurance program. So to answer your question, do I think we've done everything that was asked of us? Absolutely. We've probably gone above and beyond, in my opinion. And for a community and for a county to be held to expectations of making sure that you dot every I and you cross every T to get a list of 105 properties, or 7 of them either don't exist or aren't even under jurisdiction. It seems kind of ironic that an agency that makes you follow such strict guidelines has the ability to mix something that
Errors.
simple up.
Mhm.
So we just want our due process. That's all we're looking for, Ed. We're looking for a seat at the table. Give us our due process. Tell us what we did wrong. If we did something wrong and we don't know, we'll be more than happy to fix it. But if you don't know what a problem is, that you can't fix a problem you're unaware of.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is all the information that they requested
Mhm.
was sent to them in a timely manner.
Yep.
And so whatever is the holdup has to be something separate from that.
We don't know. Again, I hate to
Mhm.
speculate of why the decision was made. Was it a different reason for every municipality or the county? We don't know. That's
So-
all we're trying to get.
There's 105 properties that they gave you on the list.
98 were actually in our jurisdiction.
So have those 98 property owners been told that, hey, you're on this list? Do they
My-
have?
Well, whether or not they've been specifically told they're on that list, I do know that we have a folder for every single one of those properties, and every single one of them, if they've come into compliance, that's in the folder. If they were out of compliance and they're working to get in compliance, that's in the folder. If there's code enforcement that was needed, that's in the folder. So there is a folder, I've been told, for every single property that has
Mhm.
been on that list and has been made contact one way or another to find out where they're at. Now, there are some people, I'm sure, that just say, you're not coming in my property. You're not coming in my house. You're not coming.
What can you do?
That's what we're trying to find out. Is it those 1 or 2 or however many we have? Not very many that I think are in that bucket, but Is that the reason? We just don't know. We're trying to find out.
So the 98, it's really 98, it's
It
not
is.
105. So
Right.
98, when did the town first get that list from FEMA?
I believe it came in that December 6th letter of 2023.
So there's no way that there was.
I have not seen that letter, but I'm pretty sure that
Okay,
was the,
but there's no way that any folder was created for any of those properties until December of 23, right? I mean, you wouldn't even know what
Well,
they're looking at.
well, the town knew of people that are doing work
Oh,
without.
I
I
see.
mean, you know people.
I
So
see.
there probably could have been.
Okay.
It's difficult to comment on because if you don't know the properties,
hear
it's
what you're
hard to say. But my guess is they would probably already had a folder started and they happened to be on that list. I mean, the Armored Corps was here, FEMA's inspectors were here, our code enforcement was out. I mean, people have very short memories. They remember 6 months after the storm, we were really getting beat up over why is code enforcement being so stringent. This is why.
Yeah. And you
This is why.
said from the beginning that it's coming. You don't do work without a permit.
And
Mhm.
if we'll just say, for argument's sake, let's say there are 105 properties that they feel are not in compliant. Hold them accountable. Don't
Right.
hold the other
Right.
5,100 people that
That's
have a
what's
policy.
totally wrong.
It's just not fair.
It is- you're right.
It doesn't make sense. It's just not fair. So hopefully we'll get some answers here
Well,
this week.
and to hold I mean, if the town is doing and the town staff are doing everything they can, due diligence to bring people into compliance. I mean, what are you going to do? What can you do
FEMA
to
doesn't
get
care.
people to
It's the town's
follow the
responsibility.
rules? If they don't follow, are you going to
Well, you
kick
have
them
to-
out of the town? I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, no, we've been told all along that you have to follow the policies and procedures that you had in place before the storm hit. We've done that.
Okay.
So if you find someone that has a violation, you start the code enforcement process. You start a folder on them. It has to go from the magistrate. It has to go through all that
Mhm.
due process
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
They have
Right.
their right to due
That's true.
process. So they have to go through that. And if they find the magistrate finds that they owe fines, then you get fines. Then you can start going into the foreclosure and all that kind of stuff if they don't pay it or come into compliance. At the end of the day, it's just about coming into compliance. Some people just feel that they're above the law and they're going to do what they want to do. And eventually they get, you're going to get caught. It's not a matter of if, you're going to
Yeah.
get caught.
Is it all resident?
So I just want to ask, so in those cases where you've been, following up, all of that was sent to FEMA, like,
It's my
okay, they're
understanding,
not
yeah.
in compliance, but this is what we've done to kind of bring them into
That's my
compliance.
understanding is
Okay.
any information that has been requested of us or anything that was on a list, we've provided them with where we are in the process, if there's been a resolution, here's why it's been a resolution.
So
And the majority of those 98 properties were in compliance. They had permits. They got
Yeah.
permits
well,
issued.
51 of them, I think, is what Andy
Yeah, I don't
said.
remember the exact number,
last
but it was
week.
quite a bit of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
More than half.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows too, if you're not paying attention to the detail, Fort Myers Beach, actually it's on one of our sheets here. There are two things. It said that 105 properties, but it also said the percentage of work that was done without a permit on Fort Myers Beach was 21%, the lowest percentage out of every, and you guys got hit the hardest. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
The lowest percentage when you compare it to Bonita and Cape Coral and Fort Myers, unincorporated Lee County and Estero. Estero was 58%, and they haven't even met yet. And so for Fort Myers Beach to get hit as hard as it was and be the lowest percentage.
I know, but they don't do it like that. It's
Right.
you're either in or you're out. It's not based
No,
on
I'm
a
just saying,
percentage.
you were trying. People were trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Residents were trying to follow. And the permitting process at the beginning of the aftermath of the storm was chaos.
Well,
Right.
People forget it's been, 18 months, whatever. Right after the storm, they were working with 3 laptops that they happened to take home with them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, those would have been gone too. They had no place to operate. They're working out of makeshift trailers with no air conditioning.
Right.
Some were working out of toilet trailers, believe it or not, back at the beginning. So to be able to work through that, yes, you're going to have to overcome some hurdles, and the amount of influx of permits that were coming so fast, whether it be demo, whatever it was overwhelming
Yeah.
for the staff.
It just seems like FEMA just put a hard stop on everything last week for no reason. That's the way, if you believe Lee County and Fort Myers Beach and Estero and Cape Coral and Bonita, it just seems like they just threw their hands up and said, screw you people in Florida.
Again, we don't know, but we do. I can tell you the collaboration between those that are on that list has been outstanding over the last week and a half. They're always talking. The managers are always talking with Dave Harner. if you hear anything, let us know. If you find out what you did wrong, please let us know. So I mean, they're all trying to figure out
or what
it is
Sanibel did
Yeah.
right.
So
I mean,
the first thing I do is
let me
I
just
text
ask.
Holly Smith at Sanibel. I said, "Hey, what the hell's going on over there? Why is Sanibel on the nice list and everyone else on the naughty list?" And I sent a text to Kevin Anderson, the mayor of Fort Myers Beach, Fort Myers. And they don't want any attention. Don't bring the bad FEMA people over and don't show up. Leave us alone.
Well,
Which I get.
right.
Well, they've had the review. Do you think that, given that everything has been supplied as information, as far as you're concerned, as far as the staff, do you think there's just some weird miscommunication? I mean,
well, I look back at what happened last Valentine's Day when we got that letter that said you can no longer use Matt Caldwell's letter to rebuild your property. And it caused the same stir that we're dealing with now. At the time, Fort Myers Beach, I remember talking with Keith at the time, and I said, everybody else is kind of going to be quiet on this. I feel we need to get out in front of it because we were under the gun so much of people complaining about permitting. Right. I didn't want this to be another, look what Fort Myers Beach thing did.
Remember.
So we against everybody's else's direction, we just went out and said, listen, we received this letter and we don't agree with it. And then it kind of went to where it went. What ended up coming out of that is that the people from Atlanta just didn't understand Florida law. They didn't understand that what Matt Caldwell was doing was 100% legal and 100% within his jurisdiction or within his judgment to be able to do. We all know what happened. Eventually, they didn't say they did something wrong, but they said you can continue to go ahead and do that. And my hope is that this is that same scenario, that someone maybe hit the panic button before they should have, and it's caused a stir. But until we find out some answers, we really don't know. And I don't want to bash all of FEMA. I mean, they've done a lot of good things to help us in getting us money right away. It's not a bash FEMA thing. It's a just give us some explanation. Who's making decisions before you?
Come on.
I just don't get it.
I'll never forget what Chauncey Goss said when he was sitting in they were testifying in front of these FEMA people that came to town. And he said there were plenty of boots on the ground, but there were never any brains on the ground. Every time FEMA came down and came on the show, we would try to get the guy on the show 2 weeks later, but he was already recycled into a different town. Another person came down. Another person came down. It's not like it wasn't like Kevin Guthrie. Like you knew when you wanted shit done in the state, you got Kevin Guthrie.
Yeah, I believe how Chauncey put it, and I certainly don't want to put words in his mouth, but I was there sitting right behind them when they were talking to them. And essentially his analogy was right. It's the same thing we've been saying. There were a lot of soldiers on the ground, but there were no generals. There were a lot of people that were here to do the work and help, but no decision makers. There was no one here saying, yes, no, they can do that. They can't do that. It was always send it up to the chain and we'll get back to you. And then by the time you would finally get a rapport with the people, 2 or 3 weeks into the process,
they changed.
They'd switch them all out and you'd start all over again. It would be the same. Well, let me gather the information. Well, we've already given you the information to the last 3 groups that were here.
It's a broken process. It hasn't fixed. Katrina was a nightmare. It still hasn't been fixed since Katrina. I mean, when was that? The last Ollie Frazier fight was when Katrina came through town, and not our town, but Louisiana. Maybe not that long ago. But I mean, and I don't want to get into this too much because you guys know I don't like to get into the national politics, but sometimes you wonder, like even Kevin Ruane said at the county meeting last week, if there was a different administration, a Republican administration, perhaps they wouldn't have done this to us. I wonder sometimes if they hate Florida, that like the national.
You're like Mr. Conspiracy.
I'm trying to stay away from the Biden Trump thing because I never want to get into that. But you have to wonder about that if that's coming down from the top.
You can always wonder, and maybe it has something to do with it. Maybe it doesn't. I don't.
Somebody has a question.
Quite honestly, that's not my concern. My concern.
Listen,
is
you guys can ask questions in the audience
back.
too. You can ask a question if you want, but it has to be on the mic so people on Facebook can hear it.
If it stands, if the decision stands, it's like 3 years before it can be redone. Is
I think
correct?
It would take effect October 1st of this year, and then you couldn't get back into the program until 2026. Go ahead.
Mayor.
Hi.
My name is Christy Thornton.
Christy.
I actually came to a council meeting a few weeks back for Trippin' Rights, but this feels very politically motivated to me and targeted to Fort Myers Beach and Cape Coral. And I don't know if you don't want to say that or if I'm not supposed to say that.
You
But-
can
You're
say
welcome to
whatever you
like,
want.
yeah.
Just
But
keep
it's
the microphone close, though. There
It
you go.
certainly feels targeted to Fort Myers Beach, and I'm new to this area. I don't understand the politics here, but to me, it feels very targeted, and I think somebody really needs to look at that because FEMA is a little dirty too.
Well, I will tell you, we've had conversations with all of our federal delegation members. They've written a letter. They wrote a letter to FEMA saying we want answers essentially. So they're definitely on our side. They're helping us. But again, they're as much of a loss as we are. We don't understand the decision. We don't understand what made the decision, who made the decision. Until we have those answers, we really can't. It's hard to say. Was it politically motivated? Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I think once we get some answers, we'll be able to answer that question.
I understand. I just keep it on your radar. That's all I'm saying.
Well, thank you for the question.
Kim, you got a minute.
I know. Well, so have you heard that there is an opportunity for some review?
Yeah, I've heard rumblings that I haven't gotten
We've
any
heard
official.
rumblings. Yeah. Nothing official.
I haven't gotten. No one's told me anything official yet. I've heard that I saw John Lai say on your show yesterday that there was a 30-day stay on that decision.
I was
I've heard
Googling and I couldn't find
I've
anything
heard that
on
same
that.
thing, but no one has officially told me that. I've heard that we might have a chance to at least have a call with FEMA again this week. So nothing is set in stone. There's really been, if there was information I could tell you, I would tell you, but we really just don't know anything yet.
And again, they've given you no reason as to why. Now, I just wanted to ask, so documentation had to be submitted. This is the timeline that you guys put out, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the documentation had to be submitted by the 12th. And then there was a little hiccup with whose access? Who didn't have access to the documentation? Was it FEMA?
I don't know. I don't know if it was us sending it back to them and they couldn't get access to it, or we couldn't get access to their information. There was a couple municipalities that asked for an extension to get them the information that they needed.
Okay.
Or they were requesting, which I believe the town applied for and some other ones applied for as well. So I don't know what specifically that is as far as whether it was our end that couldn't get access to something or their.
It looks like they, on the other end, couldn't get access. And then that got worked out. So that was Friday the 12th. And then that all got worked out a few days later on the 17th.
Yeah.
You think that they couldn't possibly hold.
I hate to say it, but we don't know. We really don't know. We would just be speculating. You really know as much as we know at this point. And that's the honest truth.
So yesterday on the show at Margaritaville, and if anybody, is that our food? Oh, you have a question? Come on. Yes. I'll hold on to my question until we love audience participation.
Yeah.
Especially when you have to go to the restroom.
Hi, I'm Ellen
morning.
from
It is morning,
Hibiscus previously. Will be again someday.
There's a tornado that went through Hibiscus. I don't know if you know that, but I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a tornado that took out those houses.
So the 105 or 98, do you have a clear picture of, was that like a sampling or is that from everything?
That's a good question. I wish I could answer it. We don't know. We don't know why it was these specific properties. If there are more that we aren't aware of, if this was the only 105, we know there were other. The 105 was specifically about the substantially damaged properties, not necessarily all the work without a permit stuff. If someone did a fence without a permit, that's probably not in this 105. I'm assuming, but this list was based off of substantially damaged properties that the Army Corps of Engineers may or may not have determined that it was a substantially damaged property that had work done to it.
But Dan, if you were to make a guess, there was more than 105 properties that did work without a permit.
Well, of the 3,500 plus structures we had, every single one of them had damage. So
yeah,
if you had damage, we know that you're supposed to have a permit to build it back.
Yeah.
So that goes back to that. It's not a matter of if you're going to get caught. It's when.
And so the list, did a list have to come from the town to FEMA? Kind of listing the substantially damaged homes?
They were all working together. They were Army Corps of Engineer, FEMA, as well as.
Well, why the Army Corps of Engineers?
Wait, can you just let him just answer? So
that would be a good question for probably Kristen. She would be able to answer that.
Okay.
But I know that the
I
Army
didn't
Corps
mean
of
to put you
Engineer.
on the spot.
No, I know the Army Corps. I've seen the communications out there on social media. Well, they use the Army Corps. Why didn't the town use it? Well, Army Corps worked with every single municipality in Lee County, so. It wasn't that we didn't use the Army Corps of Engineer to help.
No. I just was wondering if it was the responsibility of the town to submit a list to FEMA of the substantially damaged homes or not.
Well, I know that we kept a list. Whether or not Kristen was required to send that in, I don't know that answer. But I know that we went around with everybody, and anyone that had to build had to as you guys know, had to submit a structure for
Make
a
sure the
letter
house
to make
was
sure the house is
structurally
structurally sound, right? And then you had to go through the 50% rule
Yeah.
to find out if you were 51%, then you were
Yeah.
substantially damaged and you couldn't build back.
So both you specifically and Dave Harner last week said that I think the county got butthurt because there was reports out there that said they didn't provide enough information to FEMA. So Dave Harner went through the timeline of information so that everybody knew, because FEMA was saying we didn't get enough information back, and that's how the media reported it. And then you said last week there was a bunch of misinformation on social media, but you weren't specific. So I would appreciate it if you were specific right now.
Well, a lot of it was about, I'm not going to speak for Dave Harner, but yeah, we felt the same
what you
frustration
said.
that they were talking about the 3 letters. Well, the 3 letters I think they were referring to were the letters from February of last year.
Yeah.
Not specifically about this. So I think Dave did a great job of laying out the timeline of when they received the letters.
No. I don't mean about
February,
Dave.
June, and then
No,
October,
you said
November.
at the town council meeting that there was misinformation on social media. Was it our page?
Well, there was comments on a lot of places,
comments.
but most of
nothing
it was,
I did.
Well, most of it was people.
I
trying
just want to know if I did something
No,
wrong.
No, it's people.
I try to stay on top of this.
You love to do wrong
You can't
things.
get any information from FEMA.
Well,
I can't get
I
any
think-
information from FEMA.
Social media is great, but it's also a pain in the butt at the same time. It's an avenue for people to just start a coconut telegraph that shouldn't be started.
I don't look at it that way. I mean, come on.
Well,
We caught that lady in the Jeep because of our page. That lady got
that's a good
okay.
part of it, right? But then there's also the bad part where you put something out, and then
It's the
you or
telephone
someone
game
else,
where
and
somebody
or a
says
news outlet
something
puts
and
something out, and then it's all of a sudden, well, they obviously didn't do something that Sanibel did, or they didn't obviously do something right. That you don't know that.
People
we
have
don't know
rights.
that.
I hear what you're saying. People have rights to
But
their
they
opinion,
have their
and
right to
sometimes
their
they're
opinion,
wrong.
but sometimes
okay.
opinions turn into
Gotcha.
fact or false
Because if I
facts.
put something out there that was wrong, you would just call me and tell me. I would think. I mean, we've known each other for 1,000 years.
Yeah, if I
right?
feel that you did something wrong or you were putting
Right.
out misinformation, I would tell you.
Okay,
That,
thank you.
How
'Cause
come
you
you
said
don't
it.
listen to me when I ask you to
Because
take
you
stuff
don't want me to put anything out. That's the thing. I've never be able to make a post if it wasn't for you.
No, you
If
just
I listen
sometimes
to
you're
you
mean.
for crying out loud. I was thinking, here's what I was thinking. I was thinking about putting a big sign and standing out in front of the Kia Stereo parking lot. And that just said, this is an illegal parking lot. Park at Norm's.
I was like,
parking.
nope.
And she had a glass of wine, so she almost approved that. I mean,
I
that
did
would have been
not. There's no way.
because that guy would have.
so note to self, you need to get her 2 glasses of wine.
Right. Because there's no doubt that guy would have came out and started a fight with me if I was standing on the sidewalk, because he's crazy. The guy's crazy.
I'm definitely not a psychiatrist, but
But I play one on
But I
Sundays.
play one on Sundays.
So, yeah. So I don't want to side trip, but that is a major story. Like, the town was foreclosing on his property, and he wrote a $188,000 check. So the town, I think, took him out of foreclosure or stopped the process of that.
He paid the lien.
Okay.
He paid the lien.
And then he just started breaking the rules again. And now
which code enforcement started again. So,
Right, but he got a 30-day. So now he gets a 30-day free pass, get out of jail free card, because that's the process, the normal process. Then it'll go to the magistrate, and it'll be like, okay, so what is it? $1,000 or $2,000?
well, no,
He's
it gets
gonna write
worse.
the
I
check
mean, it
again.
definitely gets worse. I think with a magistrate and something like that, the first time around, it's like $250 a day. Repeat offenders, it could go up to $500 a day. So,
I
mean,
read that. Yeah.
it can go up fairly quickly. So it's not going to be a cheap thing, and there's a process you can go through to be compliant. You just got to get the special exception or come through and try for it.
my
at least.
God.
Do you think though that like the way it's set up, that's loophole? I mean, I don't know. That's really a loophole.
It
but
says cost of
how
doing
do you-
business.
how do
Yeah.
you mitigate that from happening? How do you get that to stop happening?
Well, I think that's a legal question. I don't know that there's any way that you can stop that legally from happening.
Do you raise
can't
the
pick your neighbor.
fines?
You can't pick. You
Right.
can't pick who buys properties. You can't pick.
Nobody.
So who sets the fine? The magistrate?
Yeah.
The magistrate.
your-
No, the magistrate sets the fine.
Yeah.
The code compliance officers go out, let them know that they and advertise that they are in violation of code.
So the
So
code.
they
And they have
get to
30
pay-
days to come back into compliance. If not, then it goes to the magistrate, and the magistrate can make the ruling on the fines that start accruing from
So-
that.
Okay, well, I just
okay,
want to
go ahead.
clarify. So the magistrate then, after 30 days, doesn't have to say it's 250 or 500. That person could be like,
No,
it's
there-
5,000
No,
a day.
no, there's
I
something
think
in the
there's-
ordinance.
I think there's
Okay,
state
so
state
it
statute.
is-
I think sets things
Okay.
in there too. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't.
So
But-
So code enforcement goes out and they put a sign up that says you're in violation of something, and he rips the signs down. So there's no sign there. So I think your attorney says put the sign up but take a picture of it because he's going to rip it down again. And listen, I don't begrudge people for making money, but the other parking lots on the island followed the rules. I know we've been talking about this for, it seems like forever. And this guy doesn't want to follow the rules. He doesn't want to go get a special exception, which was like $50 to get it. I mean, it's ridiculous what the guy's doing. It's just bizarro.
Yeah, I can't speak as to why he's choosing not to do what he's doing, but
did we not answer your question? Or are you getting angry with us? I don't want you to be angry. You're throwing your hands up over there like we didn't answer your question. Well, you can re-ask it or ask another question. Unless you're related to the parking lot guy.
With all due respect.
Yeah.
While we rebuild this beach, we really need to help small businesses recover and the residents alike. And I think we have really big problems to work on and pick bones and pick fights over.
It's not picking fights. It's about doing what's right or wrong. He is choosing, and he had chosen in the past to do something that other people that are operating the same business have gone through and doing it the right way. So by not enforcing what he's doing, you're punishing the people that have done it the right way. So I understand what you're saying, and it's not about picking fights. It's about making people in a compliance so that everybody's following the same rules. And if you're choosing not to follow the same rules as everyone else, then you need to pay the consequences.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. But I'm not from this beach. I'm not from Florida. I come here and I'm looking at this place as a travesty waiting to happen until somebody gets a hold on.
What do you mean by that? Travesty waiting to happen?
The traffic, the infrastructure, the sidewalks that you trip over, the lack of lights
There's
at
always
night,
been traffic,
the no crosswalk across the Estero Boulevard is dangerous. And I'm looking at this going, instead of handcuffing people with fines and more rules.
Who are they handcuffing?
Like, let businesses flourish here.
What business
let
is not
residents
flourishing?
rebuild.
What businesses aren't flourishing? They're all flourishing right now. All of them.
Anyone that has chosen to open their business back up, we've worked with them very, very diligently to help them as best we can. But again, use Wahoo Willie's. They had to go through certain things to be able to open back up. Would it be fair to them if we let another business that does the same thing right next door not have to follow the same rules that they had to open up, but let them just keep doing what they're doing? It's not fair to the people that are doing it correctly.
I absolutely 100% agree. I just feel like before we lose tourism here, somebody really needs to focus on the huge problems that are here, like the traffic.
There's always been traffic, but there's always been traffic. People always come to this beach, and there isn't even a pier, and they're still coming to the beach.
Okay. Outsider looking in. It's just my opinion. It's my 2 cents. I just feel like let business reign here. Let things open up.
Yeah, for sure.
Take the handcuffs off of people.
There's no handcuffs on people, though.
Let them be free here and let them flourish in business and let this place thrive like it should.
I think the thing is that there are.
He's got handcuffs on, but
I think there are bigger issues that people see from the outside looking in, like the lights and all of that stuff.
But I don't think it's fair to say people have handcuffs on. Nobody who's got handcuffs on, Dan. Take them off.
I don't know.
Unlock the handcuffs. I don't.
But the context for the history is what.
Well, let's talk about business. On Tuesday at the LPA meeting, the Moss Marina thing is going to come up. It's the first major project that's coming in front of the LPA. Staff has recommended denial of the zoning change. So that'll be what we see. That'll be the first test of what might be built or might not be built. But the whale is going to be built. They're breaking ground on May 17th. So I mean, you can only build as fast as you can build with everything, that you have to go through the normal process of permitting and getting contractors and buying the supplies and things like that. So, I mean, I wish more businesses were open, but there's no
buildings
building.
Can't be built in a day.
That's the biggest problem.
The ones that are open
forever.
have been able to rebuild what they have and open up. So new stuff coming out of the ground is just going to take a little bit of time.
Right.
Look at the whale. I mean, it's going to take, what they say, 18 months to build.
When he said December, I was like, wow, December 2025. I was like 2024. Wow.
Yeah, that would be pretty fast.
So Dan, before we let you roll, I heard John Lai yesterday said there's a 30-day stay.
He talked about it while you were in the bathroom.
Never mind. I didn't mean to bring it up again. So did we did we miss anything?
Is there anything else that you want to say about the FEMA thing or lights or
No,
all the
lights
stuff.
this weekend. No lights.
No, we
One weekend without
you know,
lights.
with the FEMA thing, I can tell you that everyone is working very, very hard to try to get answers and get this taken care of. So it's one less thing people have to worry about. People are worrying about enough things to have to worry about this as well. But they need to know that the town is working very hard on their behalf to make sure that we get that discount back, because we worked very hard for it and we've followed all the rules that we've been told we have to follow to maintain it. So until we can get an explanation, we feel that the residents are entitled to that discount that they've earned. So,
And as far as to the comment before about the sidewalks and the crosswalks, that is not the town.
Only
well,
on
if
the
it's
north
within
end.
if like Old San Carlos is the town's road, right?
But
But it's
Estero
fine.
Boulevard is,
Yeah, if there's issues with this, but we've identified problems, we've sent it
Yeah.
up through Commissioner Sandelli, and things are
right,
getting
that's a
taken care of.
county thing, yeah.
It's in, we talk about the signs. You're starting to see some crosswalk signs go up. You're starting to see things get fixed. In a perfect world, if money wasn't an issue,
Mm-hmm.
things would get fixed a lot faster. I think you heard Commissioner Hammond say it in the meeting on Tuesday. You can't just outlay all that money. You have to know that you're going to get reimbursed for the things that you've told you've been reimbursed for, and to just go out and do something before it gets obligated. And I know I've said it many, many times.
Right.
You're spending money that you potentially don't have, and you won't get recouped. So it's not a matter of want, and it's not a matter of will to get these things done. It's economics.
Right.
All right. I know you don't have, this is more of an Adderhold thing, but to say there's no update on Santini Plaza that you know of that you can share.
No, I've heard some rumblings that there's been some leases signed, or going to be some leases
Sweet.
signed, but I don't know any specific ones. I've heard as soon as October someone
Great.
could be open in there. So
That'd be nice.
I mean, we'd love to see the South End Santini, as Vice Mayor has said all along, and everyone has said all along, that's very vital to our recovery. It's vital to our traffic. It's vital to everything that we do here on a daily basis. So you had the owner on. I thought he did a great job
Yeah.
of explaining things, and money is tight for everybody.
And he's
That's
losing
the-
money every day.
Well,
He wants to be open.
That I've said it before, and I'll say it again. That storm didn't care how big your checkbook was. It affected everybody the same, whether you had $1 or whether you had $1 million. It was just bigger
Yeah.
things you had to fix. So we're all feeling the pain. I don't know that anybody could sit on your show and honestly say my savings account is better than it was
I know.
Right.
18 months ago.
Whenever I talk to a condo, I did a walk around at a condo last week, and it's like the assessments are it's just a money suck.
Ugh.
The assessments that they have to all go through.
Yeah.
And the buildings are closed. They can't, I don't want to get into it, but it's just, I mean, everybody's going through, even the library can't open because they can't get an elevator. It's ridiculous.
But we're getting through it. There was a gentleman that was speaking to you before the show from Michigan. I didn't remember his name, but he came up and he leaned on somebody. He said something that was probably the nicest compliment I think I've received in a long time. He said, "We're only rebuilding because you give us hope." And when he said he
nice.
was referring to the town.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You guys are giving us hope, and that's why we're rebuilding. So I think that was a very good compliment. I think that goes to what we've tried to do since the day of the storm, is work with people, get people back in their homes and their businesses. And
Yeah.
we'll continue that same mission for as long as we've got a voice.
And now they get a big kind of breather with the traffic kind of will reduce because season
Yeah,
is kind of
well,
over. And
It's still, there's still,
but
some
there's still
traffic out there.
construction work out there.
Still construction work, still busy in the
I
morning.
did want to say a big thank you to the mayor and Frankie and Andy for the yellow buckets. The yellow buckets are out there.
Thank you to you and
Connecticut.
your
Yes.
followers. You guys are the ones that did it.
There was
Public work.
and
Don't
there
forget
was-
public works.
and
They're the ones
Public
that went
Works.
up.
Yep.
And I learned a new word. There's a new word on the sign that says Demetrius or something like that. I don't even know what the hell it is. I think it means debris in
Who read it
French
to
or
you?
something. I was looking at the sign. I'm like, I don't even know what that word means. But if you pick it up, put it in the bucket and then throw it in the trash. And I sent a thank you. And I never do this. And I'm going to say this on the show, but I never send a guy a text that says I love you. But I said I love you, Frankie. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Frankie doesn't need a bigger head. Come on.
Yeah.
If he's watching, he's
Well,
probably.
hello.
Now it's our job. It's our job to make sure the buckets get used and they don't get lost and they don't, wind up, in some pelican's beak or something like that.
Well, they're
Yeah,
not.
that's
Yeah.
true.
I was on the
So-
beach today. It
does look
looked
great.
good. It really looked good. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
really
the
going to
water
town
looked
with getting
good,
sand
and-
out there, and a year from now, hopefully everything will be done and it'll be
It's gonna
back
be
to
crazy. You think people are coming to the beach now? When that beach renourishment is done next year, it's going to be sick. It's going to
Yeah.
be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've told you this. But the first thing that was asked of me is, when I was able to sit in
Get
that
the
trailer.
beach open.
They
Yeah.
asked me, what is it? Get the beach open. If you get the beach open, it'll provide relief for people that are busting their butt
Yeah.
every day. That can still walk out there safely and be able to watch that sunset and recharge your battery and start again the next day. And it hasn't changed. As long as that cliche, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Well, if you keep it clean and you keep it nice, people are going to come
Yeah.
and they're going to use it.
It's really
Yep.
nice behind the Hotka house. I just like putting my chair out and sitting behind their house.
He's going to
Holy
be floating
crap.
in a pink
They got a
flamingo in
way
your
big
pool
beach
one
back
day.
behind their house there. Yeah. So thank you so much, Dan,
Yeah,
for
thanks
coming
for
on.
having me.
Big hand for the mayor of Fort Myers Beach. Oh my gosh. Before I read this ad,